Howdy Hearthstoners, I'm Doc Awesome, and today we're going into the arena. If you're a new player looking to build up your card collection, I highly recommend you spend your gold on arena runs. Even if you get stomped 0 to 3, you still get a pack of cards and something. Okay, so first we have to decide which class. The warrior is a terrible pick in the arena. They're pretty much useless unless you get weapons, and there's no guarantee you'll get any weapons or any good weapons. Never pick the warrior if you have a choice. I'm told warlock is pretty good, but I've never really practiced with the warlock. I don't really know the class that well. I don't have a lot of warlock cards, so I've never really learned it. So I guess it's rogue for us. Rogue is actually pretty decent. Their hero power means you always have a weapon available, so you can hold your own in the arena. We do not have a great first pick here. Alarmobot is pretty much useless, definitely on the first pick, since we don't know if we're going to have any big minions we want summoned from our hand for free. And most likely it would be killed anyway, even if we did. Demolisher is kind of good against aggro since it spits out 2 random damage. But you have to wait a turn to get that effect. And in the meantime, it's just a 1/4, which is not that effective. Matter Bomber, 5/4 body for 5 is decent, and the Battle Cry deals 6 damage randomly split between all other characters. Can clean up the board against aggro, or just do some damage to a board so that you can whittle it down. But it's so unpredictable, and every time I play it, it seems like half the damage goes to my face. But I guess we take the Matter Bomber. The 5/4 body is just so much better. Alright, here, this is pretty much an auto pick. The SI7 agent is one of the best 3 drops in the game. If we combo it, we get to deal an extra 2 damage and put a 3/3 body on the board. That's pretty good. Deathlord is pretty much useless unless you're a priest. And the Crazed Alchemist, swapping the attack and health of a minion while fun, is rarely that useful. SI7 agent it is. Priestess of Elune is not that useful. For 6 mana, she's overcosted. You only get 4 stats of health, which means it dies to a Yeti, which only costs 4. Razorfen Hunter is not terrible, since you get 2 bodies for 3 mana. But I think the choice here is Ogre Brute. It has a chance to attack the wrong enemy, but a 4/4 body for 3 mana is a pretty serious advantage in the early game. While I really love Cold Blood, at this stage I think we need to focus more on minions than spells. Youthful Brewmaster is a pretty decent 2-drop. You'd play a 3/2 even if it didn't have a Battle Cry. And being able to bounce something back, we do have, of all the minions we have so far, 2 of them have Battle Cry, so that we might actually get some value from that. Dancing Swords is just terrible. I mean, it has the same stats as the Ogre Brute, and it hits whatever you actually want it to hit, but giving your opponent a card is never a good thing in the arena. I'm still tempted to take the Cold Blood, but I think it's more important for us to stock up on minions right now. Shadow Step is not really that useful to us, especially since we already have a bounce back effect. Ironforge Rifleman is pretty much a terrible card. Never pick it if you have a choice of anything else. In Rogue, Goblin Autobarber is pretty solid. It buffs our weapon, and it's a 3/2 body. One of the best ways to spend 2 mana for a Rogue. Clockwork Gnome is a decent 1-drop because it gives you that spare part. Vanish is pretty much useless unless you're running a mill rogue, and we can't really hope to put together a mill deck in Arena. Assassin's Blade, one of the best weapons in the game. Pretty easy pick. Cogmaster's Wrench is a noob trap. It's only worth 3 mana if you have a mech on the board. And if that mech dies, it's back to being a 1-attack useless weapon. Don't pick Cogmaster's Wrench. Only in Constructed if you've already made a mech rogue deck. Murloc Warleader would be pretty good if we had other Murlocs, but we don't. I'm hesitant to take the Mountain Giant just because the rogue relies a lot on combo effects, and most of our deck so far looks like it's tending towards cheap, so we might not have a whole lot of cards in hand to make the Mountain Giant playable. And the Mountain Giant would pretty much dictate what kind of deck we would need to win with. Yeah, I'm just not sure we can build a Mountain Giant deck from this point with what we've got so far. So do I just take another 3/3 for 3? Ah, screw it. Let's dream big. We'll take the Mountain Giant. Alright, we have a choice of 2 drops. Novice Engineer is marginal. Kobold Geomancer would be a little more considerable if we had spells, but we don't have anything that deals direct damage, so it's just a 2/2 for 2. Loot Hoarder will draw us a card when it dies and possibly kill another 2-drop. It's a pretty good pick. Alright, so this choice is between the Abusive Sergeant and the Jungle Panther. Abusive Sergeant is pretty useful because for 1 mana you get to just add 2 to the attack of any minion that's on the board. And we don't have a lot of high attack minions other than the Mountain Giant, so that boost might actually be pretty useful. And then we have the Jungle Panther, 3 mana, 4 attack creature with 2 health and stealth. It's useful to have 4 damage just sitting on the board waiting to be used, but it is pretty weak to area of effect. And in Arena you do face a lot of Paladins, so Consecrate is a serious issue, especially since Consecrate comes on turn 4, so that it could get wiped out right after you play it. Well, we already have a couple of 3s and we don't have any 1s, and this effect is pretty useful. If nothing else, we could maybe use it on the Loot Hoarder and trade up into a larger minion. And maybe we can bounce him back with the Youthful Brewmaster and use him again. Wow. These are 3 pretty useless epics. We have Hungry Crab, which is only useful if we have other Murlocs, which we don't. We have Murloc Warleader, which is only marginally useful without Murlocs, of which we still do not have any. And then we have the Mini-Mage, which is stealthed, but only has 1 health and 4 attack. And we have no spells to deal damage with, but I think he might be the best pick. At least he might hit something for 4. Let's hope we draw some spells. Ooh, Worgen Infiltrator, one of the best 1-drops. Fen Creeper is a really good taunt for 5 mana. Gang Up, pretty much useless in the Arena. Put it in your weird combo deck in Constructed, but ignore it in the Arena. I do love a Fen Creeper in the Arena, because it stops a lot of stuff, and 3 attack is pretty good. It'll kill a lot of 2-drops. But the arena game does tend towards the aggressive, and Worgen Infiltrator really fits into that game better. And it does look like this deck is trending towards the fast and cheap. So Worgen Infiltrator it is. And since we just took Worgen Infiltrator, we definitely don't need to consider the Murloc Raider. I guess if I had taken those two Murloc War Leaders, I'd be sitting pretty now, right? Fan of Knives is pretty good AoE, and since Paladins are a thing, and Muster of Battle is a pretty good card, you get to cancel it out for basically the same amount of mana and draw a card. We only have one minion with Death Rattle, so Undertaker is pretty much a useless 1/2 creature. Fan of Knives it is. Leper Gnome, one of the best 1-drops in the game. Guaranteed to deal 2 damage to your foe. Possibly 4 or even more. Priestess of Elune still useless. Not enough healing. Not enough body stats. Too much mana. The Frostwolf Warlord would be decent if this was like a token deck. And although we do have a lot of cheap minions, I don't think we're ever going to have enough on the board to really make him worth it. Plus, he's a big silence target. The only reason I'm considering the Warlord is because we don't really have another big threat in the deck yet, other than the Mountain Giant. Which, based on how the rest of the deck is constructed, I'm not sure we'll ever get to use. And we don't have any weapon buffs, so I can't rely on using the Assassin's Blade to finish them off, probably. I guess we wait and hope we get a Boulder Fist Ogre. We can do better than Frostwolf Warlord, right? We'll take the Leper Gnome. Headcrack is not the most useful or efficient card, but it's a lot of fun to play with. It deals 2 damage to the enemy hero, and if you combo it, it comes back to your hand and you get to cast it again. So theoretically, for 3 mana every turn, you could just keep hitting your opponent in the face, much like a hunter. But in actuality, it's tough to combo, and usually if you have another 3 mana, you want to cast a minion or a spell that actually affects the board, rather than just ping your opponent for 2. Maybe if we had a questing adventurer, this would be a good combo. Ogre Ninja, not a bad 5-drop. You're guaranteed to hit something for 6 damage. Maybe not what you want, but 6 damage is respectable in Arena. Imp Master keeps summoning imps every turn, but we don't really have anything that would buff a lot of tokens at once. And we do have a couple of 3-drops. Well, we have 2. So it's really between the Imp Master and the Ogre Ninja here. I think we take the Imp Master. It might be good to be able to fill the board with some garbage. And it might help keep the Paladins under control. And I'm still holding out hope that we can find a better big threat that'll actually hit the right target. So we'll take Imp Master. Goblin Auto Barber, one of the best 2-drops. Thrallmar Farseer is basically a lame 2-drop that can hit twice, but it's gonna die and it costs too much, so don't bother. And we're a rogue and we don't have any secrets, so Mad Scientist is useless. Goblin Auto Barber. River Croc is the most average 2-drop you could hope for. Stormwind Champion could be our next big threat. It's a 6/6 body, which is a threat by itself, and it buffs all the other minions. And we might have a board full of imps here. So I think Stormwind Champion is the pick. It's tempting to take the Earthen Ring Farseer, since it looks like we're going to be using our weapon to clear a lot of stuff. But the heal just isn't worth the benefit that we get from the Stormwind. That buff could possibly win us the game. Stormwind Champion is almost always an auto pick, unless it's up against something else ridiculous. Okay, we're getting to the point where I think we need some more 3-drops. And Scarlet Crusader is pretty decent. It only has 1 health, but it does have a Divine Shield. So it's going to absorb 2 attacks, at least. It may not kill something for 3, but it'll absorb 2 attacks. But Silence can also be really valuable, especially if we come up against somebody with a deck full of legendaries. And we don't have any hard removal. And we don't even have spells that deal direct damage, so it looks like we're probably going to have to use our face to clear any big threats. And we could bounce the owl back and use it again, if we get the Youthful Brewmaster. It's Ironbeak Owl. Wow, I feel like this pick is telling us we should have built a Murloc Rogue deck. Even though the Grimscale Oracle buffs all other Murlocs, it's pretty much useless, even to them. Razorfen Hunter, still not good enough. Sprint, draw 4 cards. You can't do better than that. Especially since it looks like we're going to be playing out our hand early and often. Sprint is going to help us refuel. Jungle Panther for 3, still looks pretty good. Fan of Knives, we already have one, so this is even more worthless. Mechanical Yeti, we don't have any 4-drops other than the Mini Mage, and a Yeti is one of the best ways to spend 4 mana in the game. So that's kind of an auto pick. Alright, this one is between the Argent Commander and the Stampeding Kodo. Again, the game wants us to build a Murloc deck with the Cold Light Oracle, but drawing our opponent 2 cards is of no benefit to us. Stampeding Kodo is pretty good against aggro. It destroys a random minion with 2 or less attack, so if your opponent has a board full of garbage, you can reduce it by 1. And it's a big body, 5 health, it's hard to get rid of. But we don't have anything in the 6 slot, and Argent Commander is one of the better 6-drops in the game. A 4/2 with charge and Divine Shield means you get to hit something for 4 damage instantly, and it'll probably deal another 4 damage to something trying to kill it. Yeah, Argent Commander's the pick here. Ooh, this is a tough pick. Boulder Fist Ogre is one of the better big dudes in the game. 6 attack means that Big Game Hunter can't kill him. 7 health means he lives through a fireball. One of the better big dudes you can pick in Arena. Backstab, deal 2 damage to an undamaged minion, is one of the better early removal cards. And we don't have a whole lot of spells that deal any damage. And then there's Defias Ringleader, one of the better 2-drops, because if you combo it with another card, you get 2 bodies out of this one. This is a really tough choice. The Boulder Fizz looks even more attractive, because I think that Mountain Giant is just going to be a dead card in my hand. Unless I make it to like turn 10, and then I sprint, And I have enough cards so the Mountain Giant costs 3, maybe. That seems a bit wishful thinking. The Backstab is just so practical and useful. But since it looks like I'm going to have an aggro deck, Defias Ringleader also fits into that slot pretty well. But my curve does look pretty high on 2-drops so far. Yeah, I think I need the Backstab more than I need the other body. And even though I've been saying this whole time I want a Boulder Fist Ogre, I think we have to pass on this one. Hope for another Boulder Fist. Well, we have a choice between another giant that we could never ever play, even more so than the Mountain Giant, because this one only costs less based on your opponent's hand. And your opponent's not going to have a large hand because in Arena, everybody plays all their cards. That's how it works. Hobgoblin is useless to us because we do not have we have 1 minion with 1 attack. So the Imp Master would get a buff. It would not buff the tokens produced by the Imp Master, so Hobgoblin's useless. I guess Molten Giant is the pick here. It costs less based on how much damage we take. And we have the Auto Barbers buffing our weapons, and we have the Assassin's Blade, so it seems likely we're going to take a lot of face damage in this game. Molten Giant it is. Wow, the Murloc trend continues. I guess this really should have been my Murloc Rogue run, you guys. Cold Light Seer, buff all my other Murlocs that I should have picked up until now. Tisk tisk, what could have been? Mana Addict is pretty much useless to us because we do not have enough spells to really get value out of her. She only gets the buff for 1 turn when you cast the spell, so there's no way we could keep feeding her. It's an expensive habit she has. Jeeves is probably the pick here, because we have really cheap cards. We're going to empty our hand a lot, and so then we can throw down Jeeves and refill it. Okay. Mad Bomber is a pretty good 2-drop. Deals out 3 random damage. It's good for discouraging aggression in the early game. Mech Warper is a decent 2-drop, but I don't think I have enough mechs to really make him worth it. Do I? We have the Goblin Auto Barber, 2 of those. We have Jeeves, we have the Mechanical Yeti, so that's 4 mechs. Yeah, 4 mechs is not really worth a Mech Warper. Archmage, we don't have any spells that deal damage other than Backstab, and waiting to use Backstab on turn 6 so I can deal 3 damage with the Archmage isn't really worth it. So it's going to be Mad Bomber. Alright, finally we get some spells. 2 of them pretty much useless. Conceal is only good if we had like a ton of minions that buff each other or something that we want to keep on the board for a long time. Most of our minions are Fire and Forget, so Conceal, not that useful. Gang Up, still useless in Arena. Eviscerate, 2 damage for 2 mana is alright, but you combo it with another card and you deal 4 damage instead. You can also hit face with it. Very versatile, very useful card. Eviscerate. Alright, what have we here? Ooh, another sprint. Double sprint can be effective. I've seen it run in Constructed. And I did in my first rogue deck just because I didn't have any awesome cards. And it may also help us eventually get the Mountain Giant out on the board. So the second sprint, not a bad idea. Shattered Sun Cleric, one of the better 3-drops in the game, in Arena anyway. You get a decent body. 3 attack means it'll kill pretty much any 2-drop, maybe a 3-drop. And when you play it, it buffs another minion. Always valuable. Anything that makes one minion get more value out of another is a pretty good pick in Arena. Betrayal could work as an area of effect. The problem is you're going to cast it on a really big minion that has 2 things next to it, so it kills both those things. But then that really big minion is still there undamaged, and you have to use another spell to deal with it. Sorry about that interruption, folks. Had to answer the phone. Where was I? Oh yeah, so Betrayal. Decent area of effect. Seen it used well and constructed, but I'm not sure it's really going to help us here. Shattered Sun Cleric is a really good 3-drop. And we only have 3 of those. It would even out our curve more. This really comes down to the value of the Shattered Sun in the mid-game, buffing something, and the value of Sprint, making it possible for us to get a Mountain Giant out. Actually, since we have to wait till turn 7 to cast Sprint, that means we wouldn't be able to summon our Mountain Giant before turn 7 anyway, so I think that makes Shattered Sun Cleric the winner here. Loot Hoarder is a decent 2-drop. Assassin's Blade is a great weapon. Ironfur Grizzly is garbage, so this is between the Blade and the Loot Hoarder. We do not have any other draw mechanic. Nope, I'm wrong. We have Jeeves. And we have quite a few 2-drops. So yeah, I think we take the Assassin's Blade. We don't have any weapon buffs other than the Goblin Auto Barber, so just bringing a bigger weapon is probably a good move here. It's unlikely we'll get to use both Assassin's Blades, but it's nice to have 2, because then you're pretty much guaranteed to draw one by the time you need it. Conceal is still really not worth considering. We don't have anything that we need to keep hidden from the enemy so that it can continue to grow and become more powerful or any of that stuff. And we're going to be using our face to kill a lot of things. So we don't really want to hide our minions because we want our opponent to focus on killing them more than us. Flesh-Eating Ghoul could get some value, I guess. We have a lot of cheap early minions that are going to die pretty quick. We have a lot of imps that are going to die from the Imp Master in droves. So the Flesh-Eating Ghoul could get pretty well fed. But having a Panther just waiting to pounce on the board is pretty good too. And also very, very roguelike. I don't know, I think we take the Ghoul here, just because of the Imp Master. If we get a good Imp Master Ghoul combo going, that could win us the game. Okay, these are less than amazing choices. A Nubar Ambusher has a really good body. 5/5 for 4 mana is a steal, but that Death Rattle, it returns a random friendly minion to your hand. I suppose that could be useful if it bounced back, say, the Owl or the Auto Barber, maybe even the Brewmaster. The question is, do I want a 4-drop that's probably going to bounce back the big dude that I play after turn 4? And the answer is no. Flying Machine is worthless. Wind Fury on a device with 1 attack, what are you going to do with that? It's going to hit something twice and then it's going to die. And we don't have anything to buff it. We don't have an Iron Sensei or anything. So Flying Machine, garbage. Ship's Cannon, a 2/3 creature for 2 is basically decent. We don't have any pirates to get any extra value out of it, but it passes the vanilla test. Again with the Murlocs. Wow. This really should have been... The game is telling me something. I need to respect Murlocs. Master Swordsman is pretty much another noob trap. You think, oh, it's great, it's going to buff the attack of all my other dudes, but it only has 3 health, and if you don't have a way to keep it alive for more than 1 turn, it's going to buff 1 dude by precisely 1 attack. So, not worth it. Since we have 2 Assassin's Blades, Blade Flurry is actually going to be pretty awesome. We'll be able to clear the board, possibly even get in that last stretch of face damage to win the game. So, not the best arena deck I've ever put together, but also not the worst. I'm guessing it'll go at least 5 wins. Switch on over to the next video to find out.